all I hear is that it's not a good running back class. There's no Bijan. Nobody's going in the first round, blah, blah, blah. Am I wrong to like this running back class? Like, I don't know that there's a consensus, 1, 2, 3 top guys, but I like a lot of them. I think we're going to get half a dozen legitimately useful, like, contributing running backs this year, even if they're not every down bell cows, which frankly almost nobody is using anyway anymore.
Well, I think that's true, but I think that's also the problem, right? Is that we feel like we have that conclusion every year where we go, Bijan's obviously an exception, but we just go, there's one guy at the top, and then I just think it's a bunch of guys who are really going to round out the league. Well, at some point, it's a numbers game. Like, there's just not enough spots for running backs. So I agree with you completely. I think there's a lot of backs here, but it's the same conversation with linebackers, right? I was just talking with somebody about this the other day. There's a lot of linebackers that I think could be decent depth players and special teams players, and I kind of feel the same about these running backs. Like, there's a lot of guys who could be committee players, short yardage backs, home run hitters if you want to put them in that situation, goal line guys, pass protection guys. There's a handful of those players. It just is a matter of kind of where they fall, but I don't hate the running back class as much as I feel like a lot of other people do. I think Jonathan Brooks, to me, is my clear RB1. I don't really have reservations about that. I like Jalen Wright from Tennessee a lot as my RB2. I think he's got really good athleticism. He showcased the explosiveness at the combine. He's got good hands, but he's got, most importantly, what I think is the best pass protecting tape out there of any of the backs. So I think that versatility and that athleticism combination is huge for him. It's why he's RB2 for me. And then he got a lot of other guys to like, like Blake Corum, Trey Benson, Bucky Irving, Audric Estime, like a lot of these dudes who you see working out at the NFL level. I mean, for as controlled, as good a vision as Blake Corum has, man, if he just continues to be healthy, if he continues to get back to what he was before he tore, I think it was his ACL, right? I think he tore his ACL 2 years ago in the Ohio State game. If he remains healthy, this is an effective, efficient running back in the NFL. So I agree with you. I don't, just because there's not a Bijan Robinson in this class doesn't mean we're not going to get a handful of guys that could be backs by committee, fantasy football relevant, like all that kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the most teams are not using an every down bell cow that can do everything anyway, right? So being limited to a specific or simply not being able to carry the ball 300 times a season in addition to 50 targets, in addition to, all the snaps you're going to have to play, like that role is reserved for like 3 guys anyway. Nobody else is doing that. So you can still be, James Cook or whatever, not having that role. You can still be like a really high level player. And you could talk me into like half a dozen different guys coming out of this draft class and being RB1 and being like top tier, maybe not elite Christian McCaffrey type players, but like serious NFL contributors, like useful, positive parts of a backfield.
I think the question just becomes what fans do with that information, right? A lot of people think of that and they just think the word replaceable. So they say, okay, well, they don't have any value at all. I'm not drafting them till, 4th round, whatever. I would push back on that. And I think that we're going to get a lot of running backs that still end up going on day 2 of the draft this year. They're just probably going to be a lot of guys in the 3rd round. But once you see that first team take a chance on a running back, then I think it will be a waterfall after that. And I think we'll get a handful of those guys. Like I could see Jonathan Brooks or Jalen Wright or even Blake Corum, I think, going somewhere in the 2nd round and then that really starting a run to where all of a sudden maybe we don't get it back until, I don't know who picks 45. I'm just throwing out a number. Like pick 45, pick 50, whatever it is. But then from pick 50 to 101 at the end of the 3rd round,
right,
maybe we have 5 go off the board, 6 go off the board. So it's just not as prioritized in the top 50, but that doesn't mean that a lot of these guys are scrubs or they're not going to get NFL chances. I just think that it's all about how you see it.
Yeah, and I'm not even necessarily advocating that they should get drafted higher than they're going to. I just think it seems that there is no first rounder in most people's eyes is equated with this is a bad draft class, whereas actually a ton of running backs in the NFL are not drafted in the 1st round. They're drafted lower down anyway. This is like the ideal running back draft where nobody's going to go high. If you need one, they're going to be available in the second or third round. It's where you should be picking them anyway. And you might just walk in. Like, if you told me that next year Trey Benson was going to step into the NFL and immediately be a 1,200-yard back who contributes well in all areas, it wouldn't shock me in the slightest. And you might stumble into him like in the third round without having to give anything up to make it happen. Like, it's the perfect draft for running backs.
Trey Benson being a 1,200-yard back in the NFL would, in fact, shock me because he never got over 1,000 yards at any point when he was in college. But I see what you're saying, obviously.
Whatever. He's built for it. He's ready to make it happen. Look, do
you like him? Where's he? Have you done running back rankings?
I haven't formally put them into rankings, but I do like Trey Benson. I'm confused because, like I said, you could talk me into 6 different guys being running back 1 in this class. The only thing I'm reasonably wedded to is Blake Corum will be my running back 1, I think.
Okay, that's fair.
But like Trey Benson, we're like, what did he end up coming in at? It was like 221, right?
He's super athletic. Like, yeah. I think him and in a running back class where we're really looking for athletes, I think Benson and Jalen Wright from Tennessee are clearly athletic enough to really succeed at the NFL level. The thing that worries me about Trey Benson is I think he wants to win with athleticism a little too much, and you just don't get a lot of that in the NFL. Now, that I will be honest, that also worried me about Kenneth Walker.
Right.
When he was at Michigan State, he just wanted to bounce everything out to the outside. The second he even felt a threat between the tackles, he was like, I'm at the sideline. Yeah, I'm already there. And that normally doesn't work at the NFL level because corners are better at run defense. Linebackers can run faster to the sideline, and normally they just catch you before you're able to do something. Walker was strong enough and I think developed good enough vision, especially in Seattle, to be able to find some of those cutback lanes and become a really, really good player. So Benson's sort of that same mold, but I don't think he has the same kind of vision and anticipation that Walker does. And so instead, I'm worried that he's going to try to outrun everybody at the NFL level, and there are just so very few players that can actually do that. So I like Benson. I had him as my RB1 going into the year because his forced missed tackle rate per attempt was nuts in 2022. It was like 0.51. That's almost 0.10 higher than Bijan Robinson's best season. Like, it was nuts how much this guy was making people miss. But you watch his tape and you go, okay, he's making people miss more so because he's hitting a rushing lane and he's turning on the jets more so than he is like really setting guys up, really feeling open space really well, using agility, using one cut ability, using his footwork. Not that he can't, he just, again, doesn't do it as often. And so that kind of worries me about Benson is him being a little athlete or straight line speed dependent when it comes to the NFL level.